Good morning to this cooking demonstration. My name is Barbara Denicoló. I'm the author of this video, and I'm also conducting through the discussion afterwards, and I'm introducing my video. I'm very happy that you joined and are willing to discuss with me and to give me some feedback. I'm a research assistant and a PhD student at the Department of History at the University of Salzburg. I already had presentations here, and I'm doing food history, cookbook history, and also some regional history, as I'm originally from Tyrol, from South Tyrol. So I'm also interested in this Alpine region. I will present you today a recipe out of Max Rumpold's Ein Neu Kochbuch that I already mentioned in my presentation on Tuesday. And there I found a recipe with the Closer, also riecht man die Nudel zu, sonderlich in der Grafschaft Tirol. How to prepare noodles, especially in the county of Tyrol. Especially in South Tyrol, where the Tyrolean cuisine is a very established cultural and touristical reference point. The discussion about the history of Tyrolean cuisine is quite common. So maybe some people think that the South Tyrolean cuisine is quite old. Other ones say no, it's something out of the 19th century. And but the most important thing is that the question for the people and for the tourist publicity is very important. And I found the recipe also very interesting because it's a dish, a noodle with noodles, with homemade pasta and Parmesan cheese. And I found it quite interesting in how today's Italian features with Tyrolean features are combined. Therefore, I think, or I would say from my modern perspective, that it seems like a modern Tyrolean dish, but this is my personal opinion and it's not quite scientific. And since I have experience to cook historical recipes, I had no experience to preparing a cooking demonstration on video. So this was for me interesting way to go on. I learned a lot. I improved my technical skills. Now I think it's an amateur video. I would do it much better, but I hope you like it. And yeah, it's a step in the right direction, I think. So please start the video and enjoy, and I hope we can discuss afterwards. as I forgot before to introduce our well-known Q&A moderator, Julia, and we have also the possibility to receive French questions and to translate them by Virginie. So, yeah.
There are currently no questions, but I am sure. Bruno, would you like to ask a question?
As usual, yes. Hello to everybody. Yeah, congratulations first, Barbara, for your video. It's good quality, high quality. No, it's really interesting. We see all the stages of the steps of the recipe, and it's very interesting. I have a question, two questions. One is about is in the recipe some allusions to the consistency of the pasta. I mean, well cooked or not well cooked. You understand, because it's not so obvious in the tradition, in the medical tradition of pasta, because there is a medical tradition of pasta. Going back to the antiquity, the pasta needs to be very soft, in fact.
Okay.
Because they are used in the treatment of the people who have problem with their teeth and so on. So it needs to be really soft. So not necessarily al dente. So I wanted to know if in your recipe or other that you know, there is allusions to this consistency.
Yeah, I have to say that the consistency, I didn't thought about it, because it was just normal to cook it al dente, and that's what thank you for that remark. So I learned something. Wait. He writes, put the noodles into the hot water, stir and wait until it boils. Then put it in the strainer. So if I wait only until the water is boiling again, they are al dente.
Yeah. If
I put the noodles in the boiling water and then to wait again until the water come to a boil again, they are very al dente.
Yeah.
Of course, it depends on the amount of water. And on the open fire, it's quite, it takes much more time to reheat the noodles. But, well, if I put, if I put only a handful noodles into a big container of water, it starts to boil immediately. So I think out of that recipe, they have to become al dente in every case.
It's not so common to cook al dente. So maybe you can find other allusions in other recipes, not Tyrolean, of course. This is the only one, as you explained. So I don't know if maybe it's a question, the consistency.
It's a question that before I didn't had in my mind. So I thank you for that. But out of this text, I would read that they become al dente.
Okay.
If I follow the instruction and if I wait only until the water is boiling again.
Okay. Okay. And the second question is about the use of Parmigiano. Is this cheese known in the Tyrolean area at the time in the 16th century and more broadly in Germany? Because it is known as early as the 14th century in the Alpine areas, Savoy and so on. And I wanted to know if it's also the case in the Tyrol and other regions, areas.
Yes, in Austria and in Germany, it's known in that time. Rumbold has a lot of recipes in his cookbook with Parmesan cheese. And of course, as I mentioned also on Tuesday, this is the view, Rumbold's view on regional kitchens. So we can't say probably if this is a Tyrolean dish, it's a foreign contribution done by Rumbold. And of course, he influenced with his cookbook the whole German-speaking area. He had a lot of audience with his book, but I know some examples where Tyrolean nobles bought Parmesan cheese in the 16th century, or they received it as a present from Italy. Since the Tyrolean dukes had some wives from the Sforza and Visconti families, so of course they had their connections to the Pianura Padana, and but I don't know how low this Parmesan cheese got down in the social hierarchy. So I only know examples for Parmesan cheese for nobles. It seemed to me quite expensive. If I send Parmesan cheese as a present to the Duchess.
Thank you.
We have 2 questions in the Q&A by now. The first is by Marion Lamé about the breadcrumbs. You wrote mix. Did you mix it with a robot RS Fabian and Bruno did for cameline sauce? By the way, very good editorial format, frame by frame and citation of primary source in the manuscript. And she also remarks, for the cameline sauce last weekend, we mixed it by hand, no robot involved, and it was a great success with beef.
Yeah, we since I did it in the, alone at home in a small kitchen in a single room apartment, no kitchen and machines and food processors. So I did it with hand, with the knife. I made my breadcrumbs, and I used Tyrolean rye bread called the Finchgale. And I like rye breadcrumbs because they are quite, they have more flavor. And because the traditional rye bread is also prepared with a lot of spices like cumin or anise. So I tried both to have, to experience, to try both possibilities. And I prefer the rye bread crumbs because it's just, the flavor is much more intense and more tasty. So it's tastier to use the rye breads. So.
But no robot involved.
No. I have to say the white breadcrumbs I had at home, I bought it at the bakery. So the white bread crumbs I had already at home for some other dishes, but normally you can't buy rye breadcrumbs. Not used. White breadcrumbs, these are used for a lot of dishes in Austria. So you can buy that, and this one I bought or had at home, but the rye breadcrumbs, it was quite difficult to, because dried rye bread is quite hard.
Dirty. Thank you. We have another question, this one from Antoine Soli. First, bravo, simply bravo for this presentation. Is it the only way to prepare noodles in Tyrol, or did you find other ways like Spätzle in Alsace?
Well, I took this recipe because it's the oldest recipe I found so far, which is clearly associated with the county of Tyrol. I read some cookbooks from the 18th century. There are no Spätzle, but of course, medieval recipes were known in this area, but we don't have this clear written association with that. So we can't say if the Tyrolean medieval cookbook tradition was known or how it was known in Tyrol. So we don't have this evidence, but here we can say that this dish is attributed, of course, from outside, but it is attributed to Tyrol. And of course, in this cookbook are some other noodles recipes, but the noodles in Tyrol in the beginning 20th century were associated with Italy and with Italian culture. So nobody had a problem with that, but it was not clearly a clearly Tyrolean dish. We have our Schlutzkrapfen, which are like are filled pasta like ravioli or tortellini, made out of this rye flour pastry and filled with spinach or ricotta. But until now, I don't know any Spätzle recipes for that area, but of course, I have to read more cookbooks for that. I cannot give a very sure answer to that. But it would be an interesting question to research, and this is also this question about the national or this regional typical cuisine of Tyrol. Spätzle, we Tyroleans recommend Spätzle as their Spätzle and Schlutzkrapfen and Knödel as their own regional inventions or something like that. But this is this would be a question to research, to do more research on it.
Thank you. And Helmut also has a question.
Yes.
yes,
thank you. My question goes in a similar direction. I was wondering about other noodle recipes, maybe from your dissertation corpus. As I've been thinking about noodle recipes in the CoReMA corpus, and as far as I can remember, or actually as far as Julia can remember, we have only one recipe which is handed down in a Munich manuscript. In this manuscript that has the Buch of the Kosten in it, which is a translation from Latin source, and the second part of this manuscript is a compilation or a sequence of Italian recipes, and there we have a lasagna recipe, and the one I was thinking of comes also from a not German source, from the Liber de Cucina. There you have a lasagna with Hefeteig.
Yeast dough.
With yeast, yeah, with yeast dough. So in the German sources, as far as I know, until the 15th century, do not have any kind of noodle recipe. What about the later recipe collections?
Yeah, so far I found some ravioli recipes or pastries with a kind of Blätterteig in English. And also with yeast dough. So in the later cookbooks, the pastry bakery is much more, has much more varieties. So we have all today known pastries like Mürbteig in German.
Blätterteig, by the way, is puff pastry.
Puff pastry, yeah. In one of my cookbooks from the same time as Rumbold, we have the puff pastry. It isn't labeled as puff pastry, but it's the same with putting pieces of butter in it and fold and refold and then strain again. So it's puff pastry. But I will go and see what is going on with the noodles. So also this remark with the al dente or not al dente is new for me, and this would be a very interesting question, which I can't answer now.
Yeah. What you have to keep in mind is that the whole dumpling thing is related to noodles, because as far as I can remember, the doughs for Krapfen or dumplings in the medieval recipes is a kind of noodle dough, and if you look at the way they are prepared, they are the predecessors of what you already mentioned, the ravioli, Schlutzkrapfen, and similar kind of filled noodles.
Yeah.
Which are there in any region by just a different name, but the preparation most of the time and the filling even most of the time is the same. So there we have continuity from the Middle Ages, but so for me this continuation is not there for the simple noodles, neither for lasagna, pasta, or the broad noodles you made, or the Spätzle.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
you. Very nice presentation, by the way. But you should have talked somewhere.
Cécile Chevalier has a remark or an add-on to Antoine Sollier's question, and it is, as far as I know, the oldest kinds of pasta gratiata to which we can link Spätzle are Babylonian risnatu or papiru. Sorry. 1700 BC. And she also says, but I have never seen medieval recipes of the kind. Maybe it was a very popular dish.
As we discussed before with the Parmesan cheese, maybe it was not so popular, but we would have to find out how expensive Parmesan cheese was at the time. But so the Alpine area had a lot of other hard cheese or very dry cheese. So maybe people used other cheese.
She remarked just now, sorry, I mean pasta gratiata, not pasta in general. So in regards to the Spätzle link, I think. And it may have been a very popular kind of pasta. But as you said, we don't know.
Yeah, I don't found any Spätzle-like recipe so far, but maybe in the future.
Maybe it's out there somewhere.
For that hint, it's very interesting to get all these connections and to get all this new informations about things, so I can expand.
We have another question. This one is from Beatrice Rignon. The fact of using wheat or rye flour influences the color. Would this be an argument to choose one or the other depending on the recipient, noble or bourgeois?
Yes, I think so, because we in Tyrol, we are mostly at a very high sea level. So wheat is not in every part of the region you can grow wheat. So you have to grow rye, because rye is quite, it's not so, it's much more easier to grow, because it tolerates much more rain and low temperatures. And of course, the prices of rye are much more lower than wheat. So wheat, also in this time, as we can read out of the account books, is much more expensive as rye. So, but the recipe did not say which kind of flour we should use. So I tried both, because I know that this Tyrolean dishes as Tirtlen or Schlutzkrapfen are always made out of rye. So we have a long rye flour tradition in Tyrol, so I tried both. And I was wondering if there is some difference in taste and consistency. There is. The rye noodles are tastier, and it's stickier, the flour, because it's had much more gluten. You need more water, and if you mix it, maybe you don't have so much change in the color. But I think it's also a matter of tradition of the region. So the rye tradition in Tyrol is very long and very important.
It was a very beautiful video. Helmut?
Yes, since you mentioned it, I was wondering about the taste of the dish. So how would you describe the taste? How would you describe the mouthfeel? What was your first impression when you had this mix of bread, crumbs, and noodles in your mouth? This is not a common mix as far as I know, at least in our days. So yes, I would wonder how you would describe your eating experience.
First, I wondered that the cooking water should not be salted. And he mentions that you should wash the noodles afterward in strongly salted water. I thought maybe, this would be afterwards a little bit not salty enough for my feelings. So I salted the water for washing very strong, a lot, and it was too salty. So interestingly, the washing the noodles with salted water has the same effect than cooking it in salt water. This was, I didn't expect that. So if you do everything exactly how it is written, then wait until, put the noodles into the water, wait until it comes to a boil again, and then you have al dente noodles which are al dente. So if you make them very thin, they are quite in the right status to eat, as we as we like it in our times. Then the breadcrumbs and the cheese were very tasty. You don't need any salt because Parmesan cheese is quite salty. And if you put the Parmesan cheese in before, it makes a little, it melts down under the noodles. So you should do that very quickly to use the heat of the noodles. And interestingly, I thought that it would be better to roast the breadcrumbs before. But interestingly, as Rumpold's writes, put the hot butter over it so the bread becomes crispy. It works. So if you put boiling or boiling butter over the breadcrumbs, they become really crispy. I was surprised about that. And so it was, you have that noodles, you have that salty, umami, and smoothly fat feeling in the mouth. So you had something to eat, which was quite tasty, salty with the spices of the rye bread. And you have the cheese, and you have the butter, who is very quickly gets into the noodles and the cheese. So it's a quite smooth, but also quite smooth experience in the mouth. But you have also something to bite.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think this will be on the dinner list sometime next week.
I can recommend it. And don't be use enough butter, so it becomes very smoothly, and a lot of cheese. it's not a diet, so it's not something for losing weight, but it's very tasty. Yeah. I and my boyfriend we liked it a lot.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, noodles, cheese, and butter are seldom something for a diet. So no. just because I missed it in the video, did you use fresh Parmesan or grated, or freshly grated or pre-grated Parmesan?
Freshly grated.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Well.
Yeah, but I don't think that it makes so much different.
Yeah, the pre-grated is much drier.
Yeah, it depends, but I bought a vacuumized piece of Parmesan, so it's very it was very humid.
Moist.
Parmesan was of course if you grate Parmesan, Parmesan from the supermarket, which was vacuumized, so it's quite it has a lot of it's not so dry than Parmesan you break down. I don't think it was very aged Parmesan, so it was quite fresh Parmesan. Of course, this helps to melt.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, cool. Thank you.
We have a remark, not so much a question, by Cornelius Berthold, but I was thinking the exact same thing. Just as a tiny side note, there are modern mac and cheese recipes that involve roasted breadcrumbs on top. Watching the video basically appeared to me like the RuPaul Renaissance version of it.
So mac and cheese sounds American, British?
Yeah, it's Northern American. No, they always put breadcrumbs on top to make it less homogeneous and to give it a little crunch.
Yeah, it gives crunch, and it gives also, if you roast them, some taste. I remember also some South Italian pasta recipes with breadcrumbs over it. So it's like the botarga, something to give taste and to give salt, but and to give some crunch feeling, but it's very cheap. So, but I can't remember, unfortunately, where I found it.
It seems to have a longer tradition. Although the first time I made mac and cheese and it called for breadcrumbs, I was a little taken aback because for me it wasn't that, I don't know, intuitively I wouldn't put bread next to noodles. But it works very good. That was the last question in the Q&A.
So, yeah, I think if there are no more questions, I thank you for for your feedback and for you for your tips and for your research tips and for your questions. And I learned a lot from the discussion, so I have a lot of new ideas. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me in this presentation. And also this presentation and the discussion will be on YouTube afterwards. And if there is, do you have something to announce, organizers? After, if not, I would close.
Yes, thank you very much. Today at 6 o'clock is the last session, again a demonstration and the conclusion of the conference by Bruno and me. So see you then. Thank you, Barbara.